a million things going on. So thank
Well,
you
it's
so
cool.
much. This is
No, thank you for doing this.
just such an unbelievable honor. So I guess we'll dive in, shall we?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Oh gosh. So again, DeVon, thank you for giving me your all of us at the Sunday paper your time. And Paulette, thank you. Aunt Nuna, Aunt Ida, Aunt Sondra, Aunt Donna, Aunt Enis, thank you so much. This is a true honor for me and all of us. So appreciate this. DeVon, I want to kick it off by talking about the inspiration behind It Takes a Woman, because there's obviously a very special story here, but I have to point out it's particularly special for the Sunday paper and for Maria, because we've got a little part in this, I'm going to say, Maria does. And
Yes.
I'd love if you'd walk us through the inspiration of why you created and why you wrote this beautiful audiobook.
Yes. I mean, it's actually completely would not have happened if it wasn't for Maria and the Sunday paper. A few years ago, Maria had asked me to write an article. I think it was around Mother's Day, if I'm correct. And originally the article was called The Coalition of Women. And it was all about how my mother and all of these amazing women, my aunts on this Zoom came together for me and my brothers to kind of really help raise us in the face of my father passing away. And so I wrote this article and talked about, how great my mom is and how great my aunts are, and published that article in the Sunday paper. And a little while after that, Audible reached out and they said, "Hey, we read this article in the Sunday paper about the Coalition of Women. Would you ever want to do an audiobook telling your story?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think so. I think we could do that." And I said, "But if I was going to do it, I'd want to have the voices of my mom and my great aunts featured in the book." And so I went to them, and they said they'd do it if I paid them. And
How does he say that?
so I had to pay them, and we did it. So the genesis is, it goes, all roads lead back to Maria and the Sunday paper. And truthfully, if I had not had the opportunity to write this story in the Sunday paper, this book would now not be coming out. So it's just amazing to the testament of Maria, of just how great a visionary and leader she is, and also how impactful and important this paper is.
Oh, thank you, DeVon. I have goosebumps. Thank you so much. That's incredible. Truly, it means so much. And I want to go back to something you just said, including all the voices of these incredible women, the village who we have here.
Yes.
That's obviously was very, very important to you, but it's also important on societal level, cultural level too, to hear the voices of very strong, powerful Black women that we feel we don't hear enough in media,
That's right.
perhaps, and we don't get, shed enough light. So I was wondering if you would talk a little bit more about that and the importance of sharing their voices.
Oh man, it's incredibly important. I mean, I know one of the things that Maria is very passionate about is about reframing aging.
Yeah.
And I think that this project, It Takes a Woman, has its roots in that. Because so often, as the younger generation, we go and we take from the older generation and we just run. Well, we just say, but right now, this book is like saying, no, no, no. The older generation is our generation. Like, come and let's do it together.
Yeah.
And so me being able to do this book with, as you mentioned, all these incredible Black women, and being able to feature their voices and make sure that history records their offering was very, very important. It was not enough for me to say, "Oh, this is what they've done." No, I want you to hear from them directly. I want you to hear from them. I want you to get to know each and every one of them. So, even when we're not here, this book is going to live on. So, this on some level makes each person here in this Zoom that has participated in the book eternal. Because even when we're gone, people are going to listen to it and say, "Wow, that's my Aunt Nuna, that's my Aunt Donna, that's Paulette, that's my Aunt Sondra, that's my Aunt Enis, that's my Aunt Ida." And so the preservation of these voices in our story was essential. And also in the reframing of aging conversation, it makes it timeless. And it really connects the previous generation and our generation, so that we don't think, "Oh, they don't know anything." No, they know everything. Okay. So why not include them in what's going on?
Truly. Thank you. Paulette, I'd love to ask you something. I know DeVon and his brothers were young when their father died, and DeVon writes in the book, it says in the book, your approach was anything but unconventional. You could have gone and maybe looked for another male figure to help raise him, but you called in the reinforcements, as he said, you called in the village. I want to know, how are you feeling now, looking back at your decision and calling in these incredibly strong women to support you and help raise DeVon and his brothers? How are you feeling today, listening to this story and talking about it?
Well, it's very emotional, very emotional. I can look back and say that I wouldn't have changed a thing. My aunts were helping raise myself. And so who else would be better than my aunts to help raise my children? And so looking back, I know that there's nothing different that I would have done because I love them and they have been my rock.
Thank you, Paulette. And Aunt Nuna, Aunt Ida, your connection speaks so much to the power of motherhood, and I think how it can take different shapes and meanings. We don't necessarily have to be somebody's biological mother to mother them. I was wondering, what are your thoughts around that?
Well, I think that it's very important to be able to nurture a child when she is young, and to be there for them, to understand what they need, to listen to them, listen to what their needs are, and also to try and help them to fulfill the needs that they need, that they want. There's many things that you can do for a child, but a lot of times it's not exactly what the child itself wants. And I think it's very important that you listen to what their needs are, what they feel that their needs are, and go from there.
Thank you. And Aunt Enis, Sondra, I wanted to ask you, what do you hope people take away about storytelling and about being honest and talking about family wounds, the good sides of families, the bad sides, the great times, the hard times? What do you hope people take away from hearing this collective story?
Well, my hope, I'm sorry, Sondra, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go, please.
My hope is that the authenticity of our stories will really help people to see that, yes, you can make mistakes. Yes, you can do things wrong, but ultimately there is a silver lining. And I'm just praying that this book will really help people see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and you may go through many things, but somewhere along the way, it's going to work out. And I'm just praying the book will be helpful to many people.
And for me, being the youngest, everyone laughs at me, but I'm always a little fearful. And I just was, oh, DeVon, I can't do this. I can't tell my story. But I'm so thankful I did, because I'm already hearing from people and saying it's a blessing to them, and that they now feel that even though they've made mistakes in life, look how it turns out, and look how it can turn out. So I'm very thankful that we did it, and I'm thankful that people are getting a blessing from what our words have been.
Thank you. Now, Aunt Donna, I have to ask you, I hope it's okay. I hope it's okay I'm asking this, DeVon, you might get a little mad, but
No.
what drives you nuts about DeVon?
That's a great question. And she's the perfect person to answer.
Yes. DeVon is a perfectionist. And that is everything. I mean, he's so wonderful, but he is a perfectionist. And that is like, who is perfect? But we have looked at DeVon as though he is perfect. But of course, that is the thing that kind of drives, I'm sure not just me, but most people that know him intimately, to say his perfection.
Oh, that is true.
I love it. I love it. And DeVon, back to you. Storytelling is such a big part of your career, of the work that you do, bringing people together. I'm wondering, how did this experience, first writing that article and then working on this, writing this audio book and then recording this audiobook, interviewing these incredibly important women, how did that amplify the power of storytelling for you and in your work?
Yeah, I mean, I think storytelling is it's been our lifeline. We tell the stories of our culture and our families as a way. I mean, before there was a way to record it, and Zoom and technology and TV and radio, it was the oral tradition. we tell the stories, and then those stories would be passed on to generation. And that is really what makes up our history. So to be able to have this opportunity to write this audiobook and record this audiobook, the storytelling element was very important, but it was also an element that evolved as I started working on it. The original version of the book, based specifically on the article, was more about just the wisdom, not as much about the story. And then once I had the opportunity to sit down with my mom and each member of the village and started asking them questions, and was able to, get some incredible answers that were transparent and emotional and humorous and heartfelt, then I had to go back and rewrite the entire book.
Yeah.
And that is really where the storytelling took another life, because as they started telling their stories, I really then had to go back and start weaving all these stories together. So when the listener hears this book, it starts with the impact of my father's death, and then you start to hear everyone's different story as it relates to that and how the village came together. And then you get into their personal histories and what they were going through. So this work has expanded my ability to tell stories, because it's also challenged it. I mean, this has been the hardest thing I've ever had to do, taking not only my voice, but 6 different voices and trying to put that together in a cohesive narrative that has somewhat of a beginning, middle, and end. And, successfully, I think that we've done it.
Yes. And it's such a testament to this work, you doing this, because it shows how important it is to be raw and to ask questions. And I think to see your family members eye to eye, and just so grateful that you put this work out there. And I'm so grateful for each and every one of you too, for talking to me in the Sunday paper about this. And Maria sends her thanks, of course. And I know, to kind of wrap this up, you celebrated with Maria. You had a wonderful dinner at her house. We're going to share a picture or two of that in the paper. It's just it brings me so much joy.
Yes, y'all tell them how y'all felt about that surprise. Tell somebody, tell them what
I
happened.
just gotta jump in right here, because first of all, back in the 60s, I was in my 20s, and I just loved the Kennedy family. I got so excited when John was running for president, and just shattered when things happened, and then Bobby. And so I have loved the family all my life. And then to be able to meet Maria and have dinner at her home, and she was so warm and loving, her children were so warm and loving, it was just a dream come true. It was amazing.
See, DeVon may be a perfectionist, but he pulls these things off, right? And
Oh yes, oh yes. That was a highlight of my life.
Amazing.
Yeah. It was extraordinary. I mean, it just was an absolute surprise. I could not believe it. I just had to hold my head when we walked in. I thought it was a private restaurant. I had no idea it was her home. And it brought such joy to me. I met her father years and years ago when he was the director of the War on Poverty. I think then it became OEO, and he did so many wonderful things, Head Start and Peace Corps. And I just thought, and then her mother, I thought she was just a terrific woman, especially starting the Special Olympics. And I just thought, oh my goodness, and I just couldn't believe that we really had that kind of, just such a wonderful down-to-earth meeting and dinner. And it just seemed like a culmination of all the things that you dreamed of regarding the Shrivers and the Kennedy family.
And I just want to say that it wasn't on my bucket list, because I could have never even imagined it would ever happen. But it was the most exciting time of my life to actually walk in. And as everyone said, the genuineness and just the warmth and the love that we received that evening, having dinner with the family and being able to talk about all the issues that are so important now and all the wonderful things that Maria is doing. It was just a time of my life.
I think it was the best surprise a person could have. And I really appreciate her. I love her, even though I only met her, because she has been so kind and loving to my son. And her home was wonderful. Her children were wonderful. Her granddaughter was adorable.
Absolutely.
And we got along well, but we love her, and we thank her so much for that. Thank you too, DeVon.
Yes, thanks for the surprise.
Hey, me and
was
Maria
a-
partnered up, and glad we could pull it off.
It was a wonderful surprise. I could hardly believe when we walked in the house that that was really Maria Shriver. I mean, I just hugged her and it was just something so, oh, what can I say? Looking for a word. Anyway, it was just wonderful. It was great. And she was so gracious. She really was. She was so down to earth. It felt like we had been there for years. You know, we had known her for years, and she didn't treat us like we were strangers. And we sat at her table, we talked to her children. It was a great, great evening, and we're so thankful for it.
Well, I know she's thankful for you. I'm thankful for you. The Sunday paper community is so thankful for you, and just so appreciative of this, you sharing your stories again and sharing this time with us now. So Paulette, Aunt Nuna, Aunt Ida, Aunt Sondra, Aunt Donna, Aunt Enis, and DeVon, thank you so very much, truly. And again, it takes a woman. It's available out now. It's an incredibly beautiful audiobook. We're going to tell everybody, listen to it while you're driving, listen to it with your family, with your friends, keep it tucked in your heart pocket. It's a really meaningful piece of work that's going to live on. So thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
You again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.